I want to watch the news.
Are you making headway at least?
This is the news.
Mac-a-magob, it's the only news that matters. And it's no wonder that Julian Lennon, the eldest son of late Beatles legend John Lennon, has a love-hate relationship with the Beatles song Hey Jude. After all, the classic rock song was written about Julian when he was a child, which undoubtedly still brings him joy. But the tune's creation was prompted by his father leaving him, which no doubt still gives Julian pain. The rock star's son has discussed the Beatles hit in the past, but he newly highlighted his uncertain attachment to it on Sunday's installment of Club Random with Bill Maher. Discussing Hey Jude with host Maher, Julian said he has a love-hate with it, and I have to say, I probably heard that song and heard renditions of it more than most people alive. And even my dear friends send me babies and nappies playing guitar singing Hey Jude, which I really don't need. I'm thankful for the song without question, but the other real thing is that people don't really understand that song. It's a stark and dark reminder of actually what happened. The fact that my dad walked away, left mom and I, that was the point of complete change and complete disruption and complete darkness and sadness. I mean, I was only 3, but I recognized that something was up, you know? Hey Jude remains the Beatles' biggest hit, though was a non-album track and first arrived on the Revolution as a B-side in August of 1968. Hey Jude topped the charts in multiple countries. It spent 9 weeks at number 1 in the US. After the fact, Hey Jude was collected on several Beatles singles and hit compilations such as 1998's Past Masters. In 1968, John Lennon was going through a divorce with his first wife, Cynthia, and started a new relationship with the avant-garde artist Yoko Ono. During this time, Julian was naturally affected by the change in his family's life. The Beatles' Paul McCartney, who had close relations with Julian, wrote Hey Jude as emotional support. It was first called Hey Jules. Yeah, what a shame. I love that song, Hey Jude. I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful song that deserved to be huge, but yeah, I can imagine, this song just reminding Julian Lennon what a scumbag his dad was. Basically, John Lennon is not the saint everybody thinks he was. And it was just horrible, that he has to hear this over and over and over again, being reminded and saying he's heard it more than any human in the world, which is, that's a lot of times, because this song has been heard millions of times by me alone. But yeah, John Lennon flat out left him, divorced his mom, and rejected him for many, many years, and then hooked up with Yoko, and then several years later he had a boy, Sean, that he loved way more than Julian. But he would have Julian come by and visit here and there, but he didn't give Julian the love that he gave Sean as a baby. And yeah, John Lennon. I think he's a genius, especially in the Beatles. I'm not the biggest fan of his solo stuff, but in the Beatles, he was my favorite Beatle. And he was amazing. He's a genius. He really is a musical genius for Day in a Life alone, But as a human, his big hit as a solo artist, Imagine. Yes, the lyrics of Imagine. Imagine no possession. It's easy if you try. Now, this is a guy that owned a mansion in England, a mansion in West Palm Beach, Florida, and 2 apartments at the Dakota. Or I think it was 3. I know it was more than 1. And each of those apartments are extremely expensive. He owned all that stuff singing about Imagine no possession, but then, many, many years after that song, he still lived in those 2 mansions, and but people lived it up. Oh man, he's making so much sense. He's the like South Park said, he's King Hippie. So sad. I remember too, 20 years ago or so, Julian Lennon was fighting with Yoko because the Lennon family, they were suffering in England, and she had all the money and making John Lennon ties and just making a boatload of money off John Lennon's name. And the Lennon family wasn't even seeing a penny of it, which was disgraceful. But then again, John would probably be like, yeah, let Yoko keep all the money. Screw my family. I only like, Sean and Yoko. That's what it sure looked like, didn't it? He really was a vile human being. I've heard a lot of other stories about him and how he was a horrible drunk and very rude and so on. But hey, he wrote Day in the Life. Whatever. I still love John Lennon's work in the Beatles. He was awesome, amazing, musical genius. As a human, garbage. While Julian looks like he was raised well by his amazing mom, Cynthia, who has since passed away, and he loved his mom. They were close. And Julian looked like he came out fine, and he's got some great music. If you all never heard the song I Don't Want to Know by Julian Lennon, and you're a Beatles fan, I highly recommend you go check out that video. It's amazing. And he's got a lot of other good songs, man. I have a couple Julian Lennon albums. I like his career later on. I'm not a big fan of the early stuff. There is a couple songs out those first 2 albums that are okay. But it wasn't until a little later, man, where I really got into Julian's music. But rest in peace, John Lennon. Rest in peace, Cynthia Lennon. And more strength to Julian Lennon. He deserves it. Had a hard life, but somehow came out okay because of his awesome mom. So, awesome. Anyway, that's it for the Only News That Matters. I want to thank you all for watching, and please subscribe to my channel if you have not. And like the video, it's good for the YouTube algorithms. And click that little notification bell. And stay frosty. Listen to Black Sabbath and smack 'em a gob.
Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies.
Farewell and adieu, you ladies of Spain. For we've received orders for to sail back to Boston. And so never more shall we see you again.
Before we get canceled, check out the Rock and Metal Combat Podcast with me and Wadzilla. We are the Podcast Kings. Link to the podcast is in the description below, and also a link to the YouTube page. Check out older episodes with visuals. And very soon, either Ian and I will learn how to go on YouTube Live. Might be soon. So check out the greatest podcast ever according to Science.com. It's also God's favorite podcast and Satan's favorite podcast as well. So check out the Rock and Metal Combat Podcast before we get canceled.